All right, let's just dive straight into this. We all know someone like this, right? Maybe it's that kid who knows absolutely everything about one specific thing. Like they can recite the entire taxonomic classification of every beetle on Earth, or the exact schematics of a vintage train. And they can talk about it for hours in this beautiful, exhausting detail. Or maybe it's a coworker. The one who notices the single glaring spreadsheet error that 40 other people completely scrolled past. Well, in today's Explainer, we are going to look at these incredibly unique minds, and we're going to completely flip how we view them. Because right now, society has a very specific, honestly, kind of harsh vocabulary for these folks. In classrooms, in boardrooms, they often just get labeled as odd. Or, they're called intense. Or simply too much, not a team player. We've basically built this modern world that treats this deeply focused, highly analytical way of thinking as, well, as a glitch, something that needs to be smoothed out or fixed. But I want you to rewind the clock with me for a second. Past the open plan offices, past the school bells, past this whole modern machine that dictates what a normal brain is supposed to look like. What if there was literally never anything wrong with this mind at all? What if these exact traits, the ones we now quickly label as an autistic disorder, weren't a malfunction, but actually a vital, life-saving part of how human tribes survived in the first place? So let's get right into Section 1, the myth of the generalist. To really get this, we first have to demolish a pretty huge assumption. You see, we tend to assume that surviving the brutal ancient world meant everyone just had to be this smooth, adaptable, wildly social generalist. But here's the thing. A tribe full of identical thinkers? That is actually a recipe for total disaster. I mean, think about it. If everyone in your group has the exact same brain, sure, you share the same strengths. But way more importantly, you share the exact same blind spots, the exact same fatal weaknesses. If you all think identically, that same hidden predator or that exact same bad decision is going to trip all of you up at the exact same time. A group like that isn't strong. It's dangerously fragile. And this actually brings us to a really brilliant concept that's gaining serious ground in science right now. It's called complementary cognition. Essentially, this is the theory that our ancestors did not succeed by being some uniform monolith. Nope. They survived by combining radically different cognitive styles into a really powerful, diverse ecosystem. So, when you look through this lens, the autistic mind isn't some outsider who somehow accidentally snuck into the gene pool. It is a vital specialist, a mind the system was practically built to include. Moving right along to Section 2, Inventory of the Specialist. It is incredibly fascinating how perfectly our modern complaints map directly onto ancient survival roles. What we call a frustrating classroom distraction today was actually the tribe's living library. What we see as a painful sensory overload, that was an early warning system. Let's actually break these down one by one because it's pretty eye-opening. First up, we have obsessive focus. Today, a kid who just won't stop talking about bugs is seen as a distraction from the math curriculum, right? But in a pure survival context, you desperately needed a mind built to lock onto one single subject with relentless, joyful intensity. That person spent 10,000 hours mastering which plants are food, which ones will literally kill you in an afternoon, and exactly how to read a faint animal track in the dirt. While the generalists managed the social politics, which, hey, is also important, this deep specialist became the living library that kept everyone alive. Then there's systemizing. Autistic minds are often powerfully drawn to underlying rules, patterns, and logic, rather than, messy social dynamics. Well, think about ancient tool making for a second. Napping flint into a deadly, precise blade wasn't exactly a fun social activity. It required a deep, deep understanding of physical materials, specific angles, and highly repeatable techniques. The mind that delights in getting a method exactly right and repeating it flawlessly, that is the exact mind that drove human technology and innovation forward. And what about brutal honesty? We all know how bluntness can completely derail a modern corporate meeting. But flip that around. In a tiny ancient tribe where your very life literally depends on the people around you, who do you want at your side? You want the person who literally cannot and will not lie to you. Someone who isn't playing political games or, running an angle. This perceived deficit in modern social manipulation actually made them the most rock-solid, trustworthy ally in the entire group. Tied right to that is independence from social pressure. Today we call someone difficult if they refuse to read the room or conform. But groupthink? Groupthink is deadly. When a highly social crowd gets swept up in a panic or a terrible idea, they can confidently march right off a cliff together. The mind that doesn't get swept along, the one that's looking at the actual evidence while everyone else is losing their heads, is the mind that saves the tribe. They resist the contagion of the crowd. Finally, look at sensory sensitivity and the deep need for routine. Yes, in a modern, buzzing shopping mall, heightened senses are incredibly painful. But out on the open land, a finely tuned sensory system was a sentinel's gift. They smelled the faint smoke or heard the predator seconds before anyone else even noticed. And their need for routine? That faithfully preserved exact life-saving rituals, like exactly how to prepare a toxic food safely, generation after generation without the method degrading. They were the keepers. Which brings us to Section 3, the spectrum's real challenges. Now, I want to slow all the way down here for a minute, because the absolutely wrong takeaway from this explainer would be something genuinely harmful. As this quote highlights, autism is a wide spectrum. We cannot, and we should not, just slap some toxic positivity onto this and call it a superpower. For many, it comes with profound, incredibly painful daily challenges, being nonverbal, needing significant daily support, struggling in ways the world makes zero accommodations for. This reality is real, and it deserves massive, genuine support, not just, a motivational poster. And let's be totally clear. The ancient world was brutal, okay? It was not some perfectly accepting paradise where everyone just held hands around a fire. But the point we are making here is very specific. These specialist ways of thinking were not inherently useless. There are very real, very concrete contexts in our history where these traits were powerful, absolutely irreplaceable advantages. All right, Section 4, the great modern mismatch. This really brings us to the climax of our explainer. Because if these minds were so essential, why do they struggle so much today? Well, the brain didn't suddenly change overnight. The environment did. Just look at the suffocating world we've built over the last couple of centuries. It is actively hostile to the specialist mind. I mean, we force people into open-plan offices that are constantly buzzing with unpredictable noise and zero privacy. We bathe them in exhausting fluorescent lights. We demand constant, draining social performance and just endless small talk just to survive modern corporate culture. Even our school system is literally an assembly line designed to mass-produce flexible generalists. We created an environment purpose-built against the specialist, and then we have the absolute nerve to call them disordered when they struggle in it. So, the crucial point here is perfectly captured in this metaphor. A deep-sea creature isn't defective just because it's bad at surviving in a desert, right? Struggling to fit neatly into a loud cubicle or an incredibly crowded classroom does not mean your mind is fundamentally broken. It just means you are in the wrong ecosystem. Which leads us to our final part, Section 5, Return of the Specialist. Because humanity's story isn't over, and honestly, our core survival kit hasn't really changed. If you are watching this and you've always felt, a half step out of sync with the social world, if you go deep instead of wide, if you notice what others miss, if you literally can't lie to save your life, please look at this list. You are not a failed version of a normal person. You are the noticer, the truth teller, the keeper, the deep expert. You are a vital specialist born into a world that completely forgot it was built by specialists. And really, that is the tragic irony of modern human history. We conquered this planet by being a wild, varied collection of different brains, each naturally covering the other's blind spots. And yet, we have now built a society so incredibly loud, so totally obsessed with mass-producing social generalists, that it drowns out the quiet, deep, irreplaceable work of the experts. Which leaves us with this stark, kind of lingering question to end on. As a society, are we actively calling the very minds that saved us broken? Because when you really look at the evidence, the specialist was never a glitch. They were essential. And the truth is, we still need them just as badly today. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer.